Picture this. Underneath the margins, words can breathe. Got your listeners tillies the way you holding volcanic quills, spitting decrees. Better believe with flows like these, you got skills. Screaming a daffodils, dreaming and mandrills, derivative of skills.
Hello, and welcome to our first meeting.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I think we were having a little bit of technical difficulties. My name's Serena. I am the Academy Director for Words, Beats, and Life. And tonight we have our college material program called Affording Your Future, Good Debt versus Bad Debt. So we're just going to talk about what does that even mean? What's good debt versus bad debt, as well as how do we use these skills for students to be able to budget and really afford their future in schooling. So talking about some different tips and tricks of how you can afford your schooling and how you can build your credit, some of those things. So we have some guests here to talk to some of these points. Can we have who's up first? Hey, Jakia.
Can you hear me now, Serena? How am I sounding?
I can hear you.
Good. So, just to go over what college material is for some of you who may not be familiar with it, here at Words, Beats, and Life Academy, we believe all our youth are college material here. Our college material program is an incredibly important initiative that we offer to our students at the Academy. Anyone is welcome, whether they're high school age, middle school age, postgraduate, entering graduate, current students. We welcome all. This program helps our students and their families learn what is necessary to be college material. We do this by teaching what college is, allowing our youth to gain access to resources needed to help to understand the importance of education and having a plan for after high school. So today we have some great guests here to help us navigate how this is going to go for us and what it looks like to afford your future. We would also like to thank our sponsors for tonight, Herb Block Foundation, Arts Forward Fund, DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities, and PEPCO. Up first, we have our guest, LaQuita Howard. She is the marketing manager for the League of Women's Voters, a voting rights and voter education nonprofit organization. Hailing as a native of Houston, but now a resident in the District of Columbia, a graduate of Howard University, which is what brought her here. She loves to listen to music and to create and consume art in her free time when she isn't connecting with family and friends. Welcome, LaQuita.
Hi, good evening.
How are you today?
I am good. Today is like my first day of my new role as the marketing manager for the league. So it's a recent promotion. So I'm pretty excited today and excited to be joining y'all.
Thank you. We are excited to have you and congratulations on your new role, your new promotion. all this great Black excellence to end Black History Month. We'd love to see that for you. So we're just going to jump right in and see what you can give to us in our audience today. Can you tell us what is the difference between good and bad debt? Do you have any examples of that?
Yes, so good debt is like debt that'll help increase your net worth or your value, so to speak, your wealth. So for example, like for school, taking out a student loan or taking out a loan to buy an investment property or house or like to start a new business, something like that. Bad debt, on the other hand, is for depreciating assets like consuming clothes and like doing like those little quick payday loans and stuff like that, or like even a car. Like people buy cars, but cars are definitely they like go down in value as soon as they take their first ride. So, yeah, that's the examples between good and bad debt.
Those are some great examples because a lot of people they don't understand that there is a such thing as good debt. Not all debt is bad. Not all debt is, depreciating your value of money and where you're going to go with your future. So thank you for that. Um, do you have any debt tracking tools to keep up with what your good debt is and what your bad debt is? And if so, could you share those tools with us?
So I use like Credit Karma and Experian. Those are like free resources. They have like premium packages that you can pay for, but you really don't need that to just get the basics down. So like there you can see I see all my student loans and like other debt that I have like for credit card and stuff like that. It's all in one place. I think it's good to use both Credit Karma and like Experian, because Experian gives you a different like it gives you all three credit unions, I guess. I don't
Mhm.
know whether credit reporters. And it gives you your FICO score, which is a more rounded credit score. I mean, there are a thousand ways they use to determine credit depending on what it's for, but that's what I usually use, those two, to kind of help me stay on track. They send me emails. I have it where they send me like emails once a week. Check your credit score and stuff like that. I also like put notes. Like I have calendar notes on my phone to like check those things because I know I can be avoidant because it makes me all anxious. But yeah, I'd like do stuff like that to keep myself organized and make sure I stay on top of it.
As far as budgeting, do you have a budget?
Yes. Okay. My budget is a little crazy right now.
Okay,
I
good.
just, I
What
just
happened?
because I just my mom's birthday got my budget going crazy, but I do try to like stick within a budget. Like I budget out stuff for like I don't drive, but I don't really like to take the train, so I budget out for Ubers and like I like try to make sure, okay, if you ordered Uber Eats too many times, you need to make sure you at least trying to take the train. So I try to like balance it out like that. Um, Now that I have a raise, it's time for me to restructure my budget. I want to make sure just because I'm making more money, that don't mean I don't want to start spending more. But also it's an opportunity for me to pay down more on like my student loans and other debt that I have. So yeah, my budget is in like a little mixed space right here.
I definitely can see that. Speaking of student loans, do you think that you should pay off student loans fast or just pay the minimum? What's your take on that?
I think you should never just pay the minimum. You even if you're not doing it fast, I think it's all situational, right? Like somebody like me, a first generation college student, I'm like possibly making more money than my parents have, right? So I like my whole structure is different. So I'm not gonna always have a whole lot of extra money to just throw at my student loans,
Mhm.
where somebody else who may come from a more affluent background may have more access to capital. And I work at a nonprofit, and so we're not always tend to, not to say that my job pays me bad, but in the pay rate is different when you're working in nonprofit opposed to in a corporate space. So I think you have to do what works for you, honestly, but don't just forget about it, and don't also kill yourself to try to pay it back super fast.
That's definitely true. I feel that keeping it in your mind, like you said, don't forget about them because they're gonna be with you. They're gonna follow you well after that degree. So it's not something
Mhm.
you can forget about after graduation. That's a great take. So being a college student, when you were in school, how did you stay out of getting into more debt?
I think one thing that helped me is that nobody would give me a credit card. It was like a blessing and a curse, right? It's like, dang, I could really use this. Um, but no one would give me a credit card. Thank God. And I also like, I worked. So I worked one summer. I like worked on campus. I interned and I worked at a restaurant. So I would do like the most. And then I started working at T-Mobile, which is a good place to work if you are like a college student, you have sales experience. It's a great way to make more money than you would in like a restaurant necessarily, and with a more controlled environment, you have access to more capital because you're making like commission and stuff. So that's something that could be helpful. Um, there's a question here on the screen I want to answer. If you can't pay off the good debt, would it be considered bad debt? Um, yes, at that point, it'll have a negative impact on you. Um, but I'm pretty sure if you can get it back up to where you need it to be and put yourself back in the green outside of the red, it could be profitable again if you are able to catch up. But yeah.
That was a great question. Also, audience, thank you for that. So, do you see college debt being affected within your communities or your communities when you were younger or as a student? Do you think that it has any type of effect on our community or our economics in any way?
Yes, I think like about how the media is always talking about millennials won't have babies, they won't buy houses. It's because we can't afford to, right?
Mhm.
Um, the cost of college was a lot for most of us millennials, and you think about some of the older millennials who graduated from college during like 2008, during when all the economic crisis was happening then. So it's like you're graduating school during a recession, like nobody had money. And so a lot of us have a lot of debt. I think generationally student loan debt has made a major impact on our ability to even like procreate and like do things that our parents were doing in their 20s, like buying their houses and stuff like that. But also thinking about people even who are even further disadvantaged, who are starting even further behind. you know we don't have generational wealth to give us the opportunity to take those unpaid internships. It's like me, I had to work. I could not afford to take an unpaid internship without sacrificing time, time to rest, time to like even engage with other people and to network. I had to like pick and choose. Like it's either I'm gonna go to this networking event and possibly meet some executives for this company that I really want to work for, or I'm gonna go to work and make sure I can pay my bills and pay my tuition. So yeah, it definitely has a big impact on like how you are even able to progress post school, considering not being able to do a lot of those unpaid opportunities. I can't go for a fellowship after college. I need to be able to pay my rent.
This is true. So I know you mentioned earlier that you had quite a few jobs during undergrad. What were some of your financial responsibilities, or did you just enjoy working that much?
Um, no, I did not just enjoy working that much, even though I do like to work. But okay, so just a little background. My dad had end stage renal failure, which is kidney failure. And he found out about my sophomore year in school. And so my mom ended up like quitting her job and stuff like to care for him and stuff. So after after like my dad died, I like work became almost like I'm working to pay my tuition, but also to like help support at home and like make sure things don't fall behind. Like now that my dad was gone, and like paying like my phone bill and for food and transportation and stuff and rent, like while like maybe like belated lateral towards the end of college when I wasn't living on campus, but like paying for like my rent and utilities and stuff like that. So
Thank you for sharing that. I know some other people are facing those same responsibilities sometimes, and it's not something that we always plan for, but you being a great person that you are and stepping up for your family and making it happen, I'm sure they were very appreciative of that. And you made it happen because you're still here today, and now you have a promotion with a raise and all of those great things. We have another question from the audience. How do scholarships impact financial aid?
so ideally, if you get enough scholarships, you won't even need like the student loans. Sometimes I know once you have exceeded a certain amount of scholarships, they will take your loans back. They'll take the loans back, especially if you have enough money with your student loans to cover your with your scholarships. I'm sorry, to cover your tuition. So scholarships, think of it as a part of your financial aid. So sometimes a school will award you a scholarship as a part of your financial aid package. It's just one part of it, just like student loans, um, government, like the government student loans and private student loans are all could be a part of your financial aid package, like a bigger package.
That was a great question. Thank you, audience. We have another guest that's on deck, and we thank LaQuita for her great insight and knowledge thus far. Please feel free to reach out to her. Her name is LaQuita Howard, and she works and does the thing. And we thank her for coming. And up next, we have Candace McCray, who is the Enrollment Counselor 2 at the University of Houston downtown. Candace has worked in outreach and admissions at several universities and community colleges, so her resume is extensive. She actually moved away from home to start going to college 2 weeks after she graduated from high school in order to participate in a free college credit program for underrepresented students. So she's bringing even more insight. Thank you so much. She received her bachelor's degree from the University of Texas at Austin and is currently working on her master's in higher education at Northern Arizona University. Welcome, Candace. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Again, we're going to jump right in, and I want you to share what is your difference between good debt and bad debt, and if so, do you have any examples?
Good debt is something that's going to help you move forward. Since we're basically on the top of education, if it's going to put you in some type of debt to be able to go to school, that's definitely worth considering, taking that risk for so that you can get your education. And then if you get your education, that means that you can move on into a really good career that hopefully has a good paying salary that will allow you to pay off that debt quickly so that you can keep all of your income and start saving and investing and just grow financially.
Awesome. Right. So, with that being said, what are some things you have had to sacrifice in order to stay out of debt?
Eating out was a big one while I was in school. When you're in the university, a lot of schools have different fast food restaurants to eat at. You'll find the Chick-fil-A's, you'll find Wendy's, McDonald's, all different types of things that can be tempting. It can be tempting to go out with friends, whether that be to something like a theme park or a party. All of these things can cost money, and sometimes it requires you to sacrifice those activities so that you can save money and have money to pay for school.
Right, sounds good. LaQuita mentioned Uber Eats earlier, and I know some people in our generation and others suffer with ordering out. So that's definitely, I think, a key saver in budgeting for sure. So what are some ways that you think student loans can better a person or hinder them?
It hinders you when you don't read the fine print and really understand what you're signing up for. You want to make sure that you know what it means to have a student loan, what student loan interest means, um, making sure that you're very clear on what you'll have to do after you've graduated from university.
Thank you. So looking back at undergrad, because now you're in your master's, if you could have done something differently to not get yourself into debt during college, what would you have done?
I actually think that I did really, really good when it came to staying out of debt in school because I was the type of person who was very good at researching opportunities and researching the fine print when it came to taking out loans. You mentioned in the introduction that I left for college as soon as possible to participate in a free program to take classes. So I was able to take 2 college courses for free when I first started at university. Also, it helps to keep your grades up. The higher your grades are, the more scholarships that you can qualify for, and that can help you to pay for school. So, all in all, still, I think that I did really well with staying on top of that.
So how did you go about finding scholarships?
Looking online was the first step, but also I think a lot of students miss the opportunity to actually go to their Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid, or however it might be called at your university. They have representatives on campus for you to talk to that can walk you through the process and offer any information about any scholarships or grants that you might be eligible for. So I think that's probably even more important than just going online, typing up scholarships in Google, is connecting with the representatives on your campus. Because there are a lot of times there are scholarships available specifically for your school. Sometimes it's specifically for your major. I found out that fraternities and sororities, they even give out scholarships to students. And I was one of the students who was fortunate enough to get a scholarship from the AKAs. So that was an awesome opportunity. So again, talk to the representatives at your school. They can give you a lot of info about that.
That's awesome. Glad to hear that the Alpha Kappa Alphas are providing service to all mankind. We love to hear that. So today, are you budgeting still? Are you still saving money while you're getting your master's? Or is someone paying for it? How are you? What is the navigation between your undergraduate degree not having debt and now your master's degree not having debt?
So it was a lot easier for me to find scholarships when I was an undergrad student. The grants and scholarships were everywhere. For the master's program, it is a little bit harder for me. So right now I'm paying for it out of pocket. In addition to my place of work offers an offset of the cost. So that's something that students can look into as well. Whatever job you decide to make your home and start a career there, they might offer some type of payment towards your education. So that's a little bit helpful. But being able to budget, I'm still able to do that. There's lots of different examples that you guys can look up online to see how you can budget your money. Some people will say to save at least 25%. Also, when you get into the career world, there are different retirement plans that you can start looking into and thinking about. A lot of you have probably heard the phrase 401k. So that's something that you're going to learn more about, and that goes towards saving as well.
Great. That's a segue into my next question, which was what percent of your income do you save, if any?
I try to go to about 25%. I was able to do it really, really well for a little bit, but now I'm on my way to getting married. So I'm taking out a little bit of money for that to be able to pay for that new adventure and that big event that I have coming up in my life. But it was really a big priority for me to be able to save about 25%. And that means 25%, including a savings account, investment account, and retirement money as well.
That's a great deal. I'm not sure if our audience are up for that task, but we're going to challenge you all to get to as high as a percentage as you can. Not at 5%, not at 10%. 25% is what Candace McCray is doing, and she is on her way. Okay?
And again, that comes with I'm still trying to tap into staying out of the fast food restaurants and going out to eat and just really being picky about what type of extracurriculars I choose to spend my money on. So it comes with a lot of discipline.
So were you able to save during undergrad the same way that you're saving during your master's now? Or
No way.
No way. You were spending
No way. I wasn't able to save during my undergrad because I didn't have the same income back then. So every penny that I made from scholarships, grants, and work study, it all went towards something during that time.
Right. Which most people are facing in undergrad. They're spending as much as they're earning, and sometimes spending more than what they're earning. It's just a problem that we face. Yes, Taylor, thank you for that. Discipline is key. Having the discipline to, like you said, choose what extracurricular activities you want to participate in. You might have to miss a concert or two. You might have to get the late bird ticket as opposed to the early bird ticket. Or you just going to have to stay at home and it's going to be a Netflix and chill kind of night. But having the discipline to do that is really good.
Right. If you practice that discipline now while you're a student, it'll stay with you into your late adulthood, which is going to be really, really helpful in the long run.
So do you have anyone influencing you on how to spend or save your money? Are there any major people you are following that are good money savers or good at keeping you on your credit?
No one that I know personally. Just different influencers and YouTubers. I'll look at what they're doing and what they suggest to get advice on budgeting and being financially stable.
Right. And based on what you heard from the influencers, what's your favorite budgeting tool to use?
A tool, I just use spreadsheets just to kind of map out where all of my money is going. If you have a bank account, you might be able to go into your bank account and navigate through your statements, see where your money is going. Some, like my bank, for instance, they really help you navigate that. They give you percentages of where your money is going to, whether that's housing or food or gas. There's pie charts and different graphs that you can look at to see what percentages is being spent on what. And based on that, you can decide whether you want to spend a little less in this area, save a little more in this area. So that's really helpful.
We have a great question from the audience. Did your friends ask for advice or give you any tips, or was it basically you just figuring it out on your own?
At first, it was just me figuring it out on my own. Like I mentioned, I was always really, really good at researching things, and that's how I was able to get a lot of opportunities during undergrad. And when my friends saw that I was able to find such good opportunities and information, that's when they started to ask me for advice. And I would definitely say that that's how I ended up in the university in higher education, working as a professional, is because I just saw how much I had to offer to my friends and now to the students when it comes to resources.
That's awesome. Do you have any family members or other friends now that you are helping through this debt-free college experience?
No, not right now, not debt. That's a good question. I'm not really sure why. I would say that I feel like I'm in a space more compared to when I was an undergrad where people don't talk as much about money, which can not be a great thing because you might know something that someone else doesn't know. So, panel sessions like these, where we can talk about money openly and everyone can share advice and information, is really amazing for students.
It is. Thank you. Thank you for that. Micaiah shared earlier she uses the Clio app, which helps her budget and keeps all of these things together for her. I've never heard of that, but I'm definitely going to look into it um, tonight for sure. Is there anything that you want to add or advice you want to give just freely on the topic of affording your future and good debt versus bad debt?
Probably just reiterating, making sure that you're speaking with the representatives on your campus to be able to take advantage of any types of grants and scholarships. Don't just look by yourself. The help is out there. That's what they're there for. They're there to help you.
Okay, thank you so much, Candace. We appreciate all the insight you've given. We're going to take some more questions from our viewers in the audience now together. I'm welcoming now the head chief in charge, Serena Lewis, who is the Academy Director. Thank you for joining us, Serena.
Hi, and thanks, Candace and LaQuita. You both were really helpful. You had a lot of information. So, Candace, I just wanted to piggyback on what you just gave us, that bit of information. You said make sure that you reach out to your representatives on your campus. Where can they be found? Who are the people that current students can be looking for to help them on this financial journey of affording college, as well as our young people that are trying to get to college? Like, who can they speak to?
I've yet to see a college or university that doesn't have a central office for all scholarships and financial aid related questions. So I would start by going to your school website, typing in the search box financial aid and seeing what their contact number is so that you can make an appointment to go and see them. Or maybe they don't need you to make an appointment. Maybe you can just walk into the office and speak with someone.
That's awesome. Thank you. LaQuita, did you have anything to add to that? Any specific places on a campus or any other
Yeah.
resources?
I would say, like, whatever your major is, always talk to the dean of your college or like your advisors, sometimes even professors. If you're already in school, know of different resources. And I know the high school I went to growing up, we had a college career center. I know that's not on every high school campus, but if you do have something like that, connect with your college career counselors. They may have opportunities for you as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. I went to a predominantly white institution, so there were deans in every one of our colleges that really looked out for the Black and Brown students. And my senior year, I had a hard time affording school because my dad had been laid off and financial situations changed. And that particular dean told me where to go, told me who to talk to, and bought my books for that semester so I could stay in school. So, I mean, you really have to like ask people, like reach out and figure it out.
Another thing that just popped into my head, I'm not sure if this was already mentioned, but some of you might be working already or looking into part-time jobs. A lot of part-time job places will offer scholarships or extra money for you to go to school. I know Chick-fil-A does it. I think Walmart does it. I'm sure there's a ton of other places that you can look at that offer some type of aid to their employees who are trying to go to school.
Yeah, I know McDonald's has one. There's so many different scholarships that I definitely never thought about when I was going to school. Um, but yeah, so if you all can think back, and Jakia, you as well, you're college educated as well, so you know these answers too. Um, if you can think back to yourself at 17, 18, getting ready to go to school, like what advice would you tell our young people to help them get financially fit to be able to even afford school on any level? Because maybe their parents don't know, or maybe they're all just a little confused. Because we do find that one of the number one reasons why people are not going to college is that they're afraid on how they will afford it. So, what would you tell your younger self about trying to afford college and your education?
I can go first. I would tell my younger self to like apply myself more. I was very kind of like casual about going to college. I actually transferred to Howard. I went to school in Texas first because I was so casual about going to school. Whereas if I would have really applied myself more and like really took advantage of the resources that were available to me, I probably would have gone to Howard initially, but I was just scared and I was a kid and my parents didn't really know any better. They were just happy. It was like you going to school. That was it. And so if I would apply myself more, like pay attention to your grades, volunteer, get involved outside of your like whatever you're doing at school, even if it's at church, do something because those things open you up to other opportunities to get funding for school.
I would, again, I did really well going to college. I couldn't wait to go, so I started early. I went to college. My first 2 years were completely free. I didn't come from a wealthy family, so I was able to get grants. Um, and then my grades were really good. I was in the top 5% of my class, so I was able to get scholarships. So as a 17-year-old, make sure that you're staying on top of your grades. The higher your grades are, the more scholarships and other opportunities it'll afford you. Moving into my senior year, that's when my grades weren't as great as they used to be because college is a little bit harder, probably a lot harder than high school. So that's where you can lose scholarships throughout the process is if you let your grades drop. At 17, I'm trying to think of anything else. Start early. Start thinking of opportunities as early as possible so that you can meet deadlines because a lot of scholarships have them and you want to be first in line when you go to apply for these things, for these opportunities. Other opportunities, I also did summer programs in high school. They have universities that offer summer programs for high school students. Some of them, like the one that I did, even allow you to stay on the campus for a week or even more. So that you can get a feel for the campus and kind of see what college life is like. And they'll help students, misrepresented students or underrepresented students, sorry, to navigate those processes.
Great.
That's awesome. Did you have anything to add?
I was fortunate enough that my father served his time in the U.S. Army, and I went to school on a scholarship, which is referred to as the Post 9/11 GI Bill. So schooling was taken care of for me. I think the only school that I paid for was summer school, but the 4 years of undergrad was taken care of by the government, fortunately. I would definitely tell myself to start saving sooner. I felt like I was saving money, but I didn't actually have a savings account until after college. So I definitely would have told myself like the money that you're saving, put it into a savings account so you can keep saving it because I felt like I had a savings, but since it was so accessible, I started spending it.
Yeah.
So
I
definitely
see the sorry,
space
Jakia.
in there.
I see the question on the screen. I just wanted to add before we answer that question. I would definitely echo what Jakia just said. Having a bank account, period, is a big thing that I don't know that some young people are told, like, you should open a bank account and just start putting your money somewhere where it can just hopefully grow and help you budget more, right? And there's different tools that will come along with your bank account. Like I believe Candace said, you can look at different pie charts, you can set things up so you can see, the trajectory of how much money you're putting in versus taking out. So that's awesome. I know for me personally, when I had a bank account from an early age because my grandmother started one, but when I had my 16th birthday party, I got all this money. And my dad was like, okay, well, you can spend this amount and this amount's going into your bank account. And we opened up a savings account. Can you go back to the other question? It was something about transferring credits. I think the question was something like, can you transfer community college credits or did it transfer over to college? Was it something like that? Do you all remember?
Yes, I remember it. I can read it. It said, "Did any of you or any of your friends do any classes at community college that you could transfer the credits from back to your primary college?" Yes, I did that. I transferred schools totally. So I went to school. I'm from Texas, so Texas has their own little thing. I went to Texas State School, Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas, and then I took classes for the summer at Lone Star, which is the community college in the Houston area. So I just transferred all of the credits. Now, all of the credits don't always transfer, and that's something that you must understand before making the decision to transfer credits. You want to make sure before you take any classes that they come over. You want to clarify that, or else you spent money and it will be a waste because they won't apply to your degree. But yes, it's not the most fun process, but it is definitely possible.
Yeah, I know for me, I took some college level classes my senior year in high school, and they were through a state school in New York. So those credits would easily transfer to any other SUNY school, which is what they're called in New York. But when I wanted to then go to Penn State, they wouldn't transfer as credits, but it did get me out of entry level classes. So I didn't have to like repeat certain things. So I didn't get the credits, but I did kind of skip. So it helped that way too. But definitely figure if you know you're going to transfer, like make sure you're in the right track so you don't waste your first year or two and then trying to go to a 4 year. It's just make sure that you're planning it out, but it can definitely transfer.
I suggest only taking like basic courses like your
Yes.
English, your math, your history. Like in Texas, they make you take Texas history. Don't take Texas history if you want to leave Texas. Like think about stuff like that.
Yeah, and those are generally called your general education credits or requirements. So everybody's going to be taking math, English, science, those types of things. So yeah, if you
Yeah.
keep it pretty basic, you're probably better off, like LaQuita's saying. I know the other question was about emergency funds. How much money do you all have in like your emergency? Yeah, how much money should we save in case we have an emergency?
Hmm.
Anybody want to take that?
As a student, in college, uh, everyone's situation is different. I can say myself and all my peers at that time, we weren't able to save. I don't even think we heard anyone mention emergency fund at that time because it wasn't feasible at that time. But if you're able to do it, $500 would be a really good cushion to have at that time. But I know for myself, if I ever needed any type of emergency money that was available through my university, they had emergency funds available to students. But again, that wasn't free money. That was going to end up being a loan that you would have to pay back as a student.
I agree with Candace. As a student, I would say at least $500. There's not that many huge emergencies you should really come into as an undergrad student, but maybe enough to get a new tire. Once you get into
Mhm.
like your junior, senior year, you're driving on campus, having enough to have the upkeep of your car if you have one, oil changes, different maintenances like that. And then
Housing.
living off campus,
Mhm.
if there's anything going on with your house that maintenance can't take care of, you want to think about things like that. As an adult, um, I would say starting off anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 because your emergencies get more expensive. As you come out of undergrad, emergencies are way more expensive. So having at least something to put on the emergency, if not paying for it all, I would say at least $1,000 to $2,000 as an adult is good.
Yeah, that sounds good. And this is also what led not having an emergency fund is what led me to getting a credit card. Because I needed to pay for something on my car and didn't want to tell my dad that it happened. So, there was that. But so even if you get a credit card, make sure you're using it for the right reasons. Don't overspend. I still have that same credit card and it's with Capital One, so it's a pretty good bank. And that's actually helped my credit grow because I didn't abuse it. Okay, how does college debt and a bank account saving or money market prepare young people to build credit, invest, etc.?
That was kind of a loaded question. Can we get
It
that
was.
back?
Yeah, can you put that back up? How does college debt and a bank account, meaning savings or money market, prepare young people to build credit and invest, etc.?
Having a bank account lets you know how much money you have to invest and to save. Definitely having a checking and a savings, um, so you can keep up with your money and how you're spending it. And like Candace said earlier, a lot of banking apps or different budgeting tools, they have systems to where they can track how much money you're earning in your intake in your checking to help you better budget to how much you should actually be saving. So preparing those two things is a good step to doing the rest. So having a checking and a savings is going to help you understand how much you even have to invest and further build your credit.
Yeah, and someone asked earlier what's talk a little bit more about what's the difference between having a savings account and just like saving your money somewhere. A savings account, there's going to be an interest rate where you're actually gaining something for your money that you're putting there. So it's not just sitting there and not building anything. So it's kind of like income that's gaining more income by just not touching it and just adding to it. Yeah, that question. Okay. Does anybody else have an answer to that, or is there another question in the chat? Okay. Who evaluates credit transfers and how do they do that?
I can take that one. At your university, it's probably either going to be within academic advising or the registrar's office or the admissions office. They'll have a team. For example, ours is called our processing team. They process transcripts and evaluate your credits to see how they're transferable into the program that you want to pursue at the university that you just applied for. Um, and we were talking about transfer credits earlier. A lot of colleges are starting to use transfer course calculators and have those available to students on their websites. This is something that you can look for if you're planning on going to community college first or another college before you go to a different university. You can look and see if they have those evaluators available, and that's how you can start planning on your own to see which courses that you want to take. Or you can just talk to an academic advisor at the school that you want to get your bachelor's degree at, and they can kind of guide you on which courses would be transferable.
Great. Thank you, Candace. Keep your credit accounts. Micaiah says keep your credit accounts open as long as possible. Student loans, bills, credit cards, etc. as long as you're paying consistently. Yes, that's a great point. And that's what I was saying, having my credit card from, I'm going to age myself, but since 2008 until now, the same one, it's shown that I have positive credit and they've continued to increase it. There's been some times I tell them don't because I don't want to spend more money than I have, but it's definitely true to have those accounts longer and in good standing. And whenever you're paying a bill, try and pay more than the minimum because that will help build your credit as well. And then also, like, I have a lot of school debt, and it's not that the debt keeps me from affording things, it's the fact that I have to pay on those debts. So generally, when people can't afford maybe homes or things, it takes them longer, it's because you're trying to get that down payment. So it's a little harder when you have to pay so many other bills. But the actual debt itself doesn't generally affect you the same way. Like school loans affect you differently than your car loan or credit card debt. They still affect you, but just in a different way. So just pay all your bills timely and pay more if you can at any time. So what I try to do is I pay my minimum on my school loans and then I pay a different portion directly to the principal so that that larger number is getting paid down. Are there any other questions from the audience? Micaiah said, when I get large sums of money, I round down to the next 100 and save the difference. Plus, I save all my refund checks unless I have to buy school-related things only. That's a good tip. That's great. I've done that with my tax refunds. I don't really get them anymore, but when I used to, I would use that money to just pay towards my loans.
That's exactly what I do. Just here y'all go.
Yeah, because it's income you didn't plan for. So you just put it towards paying down some debt. Are there any more questions in the chat? All right, cool. So one last question just to wrap. This is not about affording your future or anything like that, but if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
I have something. When you're in high school, people pressure you a lot about knowing what you want to do, what degree you want to pursue, what job and career you want to pursue. But the perspective that I have now, so many years after I've completed undergrad, is that you have years and years and years to change your mind. So statistically, in America, the average retirement age is somewhere over 65, 67 years old. A lot of you are nowhere near that age yet. You have decades to change your mind about what career you want to pursue. You have decades to pursue a different degree. If you want to change anything, you can get 2 or 3 degrees compared to where you are now and where you're going to be in so many decades. So hopefully that little bit of advice or that perspective kind of helps ease things up for you when it comes to getting that type of pressure from your parents and your teachers.
Yes, I can go next. Mine's kind of go off of what you said, but don't be afraid to do the thing that you want to do. One of my younger cousins, he's getting ready to go to college. He is like doing all the prom and stuff. And I told him while I was home, I was like, everyone has an opinion about what you should do, but don't be afraid to do you. You'll find that you'll have much more peace in your life if you make the decisions that are best for you. No matter what, someone is not going to be satisfied with something that you choose. But at the end of the day, as long as you can sleep with you at night and you feel good about it, definitely go after the things, even the things that make you scared a little bit. Challenge yourself and go pursue them. The world is your oyster, and just go out there and do it all. Be great.
Yeah, that's great. You have anything to add, Jakia?
I honestly can't think of anything. I feel like the advice I was giving my younger self is still advice I'm giving myself to this day. Just never let up. Just you keep going. There, like you said, LaQuita, there's no limit. There's this, the sky is non-existent, the ceiling is non-existent. It's glass. Like, break through it, keep going to the stars. And I feel like I'm still telling myself that to this day. Like, don't slow down, keep going, live this fast life that you're living, and keep going.
Yeah, I would definitely say chill out and slow down. Like, I was so stressed that I think I missed out on some of the like fun kid things sometimes. So just, slowing down and chilling out. My grandmother used to always be like, slow up. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. But I wish I would have taken a few things slower. So yeah, I would just say don't stress, chill out. It'll all work out. And it's probably going to be better than what you even planned it would have been in your mind. So that's my piece of advice. Was there anything else from the crowd? I saw something pop up. Oh, Taylor wants to know what were our college degrees in, and did this factor your approach to saving money?
I can go first. I have a Bachelor of Fine Art in Art with a concentration in textile design and a minor in art history. I can say that it did play a factor in my saving, because as an artist, a lot of times some things are really unknown, especially if you're taking the freelance route before you come on with a company, or take a specific route with your career and the art that you're practicing. So being an artist made me think about, how am I going to support my art on my own and support it to where it can get to other people. That way, in the end, I no longer have to support myself as an artist. Other people will be funding me as an artist. So I can say, especially in my career, it's doing that. Yes, art history. Come on, great minds think alike. It was easy to just minor in art history. I was already taking all the things. Just give me the credit for it too. I need that minor credit. It's
Awesome.
definitely helped.
LaQuita or Candace, what did you all major in?
I majored in advertising, and I am lucky to work in my field. Honestly, when I was graduating college, it was literally, I'm just trying to graduate. And I wasn't thinking about saving money. I kind of had a contingency plan, but I worked at T-Mobile and I was making money to sustain my lifestyle and then some at 24. So I was like, I'm not gonna lie. When I graduated college, I was not on the right road to financial freedom. But I regrouped. I grew up since then. But working in advertising, it's not. There's no guarantee that you will make a lot of money, but you do have opportunities to make a lot of capital in this field. So I probably didn't really think about saving, because I wasn't going into a field where I'm like a teacher or something where it's traditionally underpaid.
My major was English literature when I was in college. I majored in something that I liked because I wasn't too sure about what I wanted a career in when I first started school. Funny thing, I actually changed my major 3 times before I even started at university. That's how indecisive I was. So that's how I ended up in English major, because it was something that I was pretty good at. But I went into grant writing for a little while, and I was good at that, but it was kind of uh, solitary. I didn't really get to talk to a whole lot of people. And then a lot of my friends would tell me that, hey, you're good at this college admissions thing. So that's how I got into college admissions.
That's great. Yeah, I have a bachelor's in political science with a minor in African American studies. And then I have my Juris Doctorate with a concentration in international law. Um, and I did not think about saving money. And I really wish I would have, much like LaQuita. I was not financially free or debt free, and I still have a long ways to go. But I do wish that I would have made some different choices when I was younger, so it wouldn't be so difficult sometimes now. So those are things that if you like, don't think that most people think because you go to law school, you're gonna make a lot of money. Yeah, you kind of have to make a lot of money in order to afford to pay back for that degree, um, unless you go for free. So if you can go for free, that's amazing. Do it, or just any type of assistance. Um, but yeah, definitely things that maybe if a different younger me would have taken a different approach to all of that. But we're here and we're fine and we're doing great. So so yeah, so thank you so much everybody for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. Thank you to the audience. There were amazing questions. We loved it. And please join us again on March 28th for our next virtual event for college material. It is called Grownish. So you will hear about the college experience and how some of our college students that are with us at the academy and even outside of the academy, how they're navigating college life. So thank you. Have a good night, everyone.